Hey y'all, this is Old Pecan Homestead. I'm Shayla and this is Dakota here. And this video is going to be for the Last Chance Cook-Off collaboration. We're going to be smoking a pork shoulder and then whooping up some sides to go with it for a very traditional southern dish. But first, we're going to show you what our channel is all about. So stay tuned.
Alright, so I'm going to show you a few tricks to make the perfect pork shoulder. First thing is you're going to want to inject it. You don't have to on pork shoulders because there's a lot of fat, but anything that helps keep moisture in there and helps render it down. So what we've got is a cup and a half of apple juice and just about 2 or 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and then about a tablespoon of the rub. Just try to get as much of it in the pork as possible. Try not to poke any holes through the bottom or it'll just run out. Alright, so we didn't use all of it. It's not really necessary. I just didn't want to get too shallow to not use enough. The next thing you're going to do, this Valentinos is kind of my trick. Whenever I was deployed, we barbecued. We weren't really supposed to, but this was like our sauce before we put it over the pallet wood fire. We put Valentinos on it, and I just kept doing that. But makes a really good binder. The mustard and the Valentinos, you really don't taste it when you're done. You just helps build that bark, a nice crispy, crunchy bark with the seasoning. And then the other trick to the bark, I don't always do, but I put coffee in my rub. So once you get that coated real good, just take your rub and dump it on. You can't really go too thick with your rub, especially on a piece of meat like this that's going to be a pulled pork, because it's going to dilute down once you start breaking that meat apart. So make sure you get this thing coated really well. We're using Pork Perfect right now, and like I said, I've added that coffee to it. You can do that to pretty much any rub. You can put it in your homemade rub. You can put it in whatever rub you're using, and that's kind of just like that mustard and that Valentinos. You don't really taste it. It's more, for texture and for the bark. I'm sure there's some sort of flavor profile that it adds, but it's not like distinguishable. Like, am I eating coffee? But and it takes a lot of, when you do a pork shoulder or a brisket, it pretty much takes about a half a bottle of seasoning. So just kind of the way it is. And the regular Valentinos is not spicy. If you like spicy, you could probably put the black Valentinos, which I would love it, but Shayla probably wouldn't eat it. So. And that's about it for rubbing it. I'm going to put some down on this paper so that when I pick it up, the bottom side doesn't just completely come off. You really can't put too much. And we'll go get this put on the smoker. We're putting it on my homemade smoker. This will be the first pork shoulder I've ever done on an offset smoker. We did a brisket on the other day. Typically I use a pellet grill. Turns out excellent on pellet grill. But our smoker was running perfect with a really hot firebox at about 225 the other day. I've got it warming up on oak wood right now. We're gonna go out there, we're gonna switch it over to pecan as soon as we put the shoulder on. And we've got a temperature probe that's got a remote alarm and everything. We're gonna test that out on this cook. But we're gonna be looking for about a 160, 170, 180 degree internal temperature, somewhere in there, before we wrap this. And once we wrap it, we're looking for about a 210 degree internal temperature. Once you hit that 210 degrees on a pork shoulder, you should be able to just grab the bone and it should fall out and your meat should pretty much just fall apart.
Alright, I'm going to show you a little trick here to keep your pork shoulder moist throughout the duration of smoke, because it's going to be on here quite a while. I just take a little aluminum pan here and I set it on my tuna plates, and you can fill it with water, or in this case I'm going to be filling it up with apple cider vinegar. And down there at the tuna plates, it's going to be really hot because that's where the heat is flowing through, and this is just going to boil up and steam up across the pork shoulder and keep it moist. This is really going to help when your smoker gets a little warmer than you'd like. I'm fixing to switch this over to pecan wood and go get that shoulder and bring it out here. Alright, so I'm going to be placing this pork shoulder fat cap up so that you don't have all your fat dripping off, and if it's a pellet grill it could catch on fire. Probably not in this, but I'm going to put a little more seasoning on it, make sure we get good bark. And Levi's got a football game here a little bit, so I'm going to get this thing tuned up, try to get it running about 250 with a full firebox. And to do that, I'm going to get as much firewood in there as I can, burning clean, and then I'm going to choke the intake vent down as little as possible and still keep a clean burn. That's just the big difference between a pellet grill and an offset smoker. It requires quite a bit more babysitting.
Okay guys, so while the pork shoulder's cooking, we're gonna go inside and whip up our side dishes. Levi here is gonna go make us some baked beans. It's one of his favorite southern dishes. And then I'm gonna do a little video of the coleslaw. I actually made it last night because it has to sit in the fridge overnight. So we're gonna go get to that real quick.
All right, y'all, this is gonna be a copycat KFC coleslaw recipe. We're gonna make the dressing by mixing half a cup of mayonnaise, quarter cup of milk and buttermilk to make half a cup, a third cup of sugar, a teaspoon of salt and a quarter teaspoon of pepper, 1.5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and 2.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Mix that all up really good. And then we're going to add 4 cups of shredded cabbage, a quarter of a finely chopped onion, and half a cup of finely chopped carrots. You're going to want to stir this up really good. Get it all mixed together. And then you're going to add your dressing back to that cabbage mix. Stir that all in together really good, and you've got the perfect KFC copycat coleslaw. I will link the recipe below, and you can try it out yourself.
So today, guys, I'm going to be making one of my favorite side dishes for barbecue. And first, we're going to be adding the baked beans. That's how you make baked beans. Now we're going to take it on the smoker.
All right, so we're gonna check on it. We're about 131 degrees internal, and we're gonna go ahead and have Levi throw his beans on the smoker. So come in here and get a look at it. Put your beans up there.
Don't spill them, honey.
All right, so we're gonna smoke the beans. Get a good look at that pork shoulder. I've got one of my probes just kind of monitoring the smoker in case it spikes or dips in temperature really bad. I like to take a little apple cider vinegar and olive oil and baste that bark down. What that apple cider vinegar is going to do is it's really going to help that fat on the top break down. You don't want any kind of chewy fat in your pulled pork, but I don't discard any of the fat. I don't trim mine any more than it comes trimmed from the store, because if you get this done right, that fat will render down, and when you shred it up, it's all the flavoring in that pulled pork, and nobody knows they're eating it because it's been rendered down into a liquid, and it's not, they're not getting that negative effect. They're not chewing on fat. That's why people don't like fat, because they chew on it, and in this case, you're not going to have to chew on it. The next temperature you're going to be looking for is about 170 degrees. Once you hit 170 degrees, what you're ready for is to wrap it. You can wrap it in foil, you can wrap it in paper. I prefer paper. I feel like it preserves that bark and gives you a better textured bark.
Okay, y'all, so we just got back from checking the pork shoulder. We got the baked beans on, we got our coleslaw sitting in the fridge, and now we're gonna make a dessert. We are gonna be making a peach cobbler over the fire in a Dutch oven, and I'm gonna show you how to do that real quick. Rylan's gonna make this for us. This was a peach cobbler that I learned how to make in the Boy Scouts, and it's really good. It's a really quick thing to do while you're camping or just outside. Go ahead and dump those peaches in there. You're gonna take your Dutch oven, you're gonna line it up with, you can use tinfoil or parchment paper. It calls for heavy syrup, but we opted for a little bit lighter syrup. And so, hold on, Rylan. So we're actually gonna put a little bit of sugar in too, just because they were out of, we could only get one in juice and one with no sugar was all they had at the store. So you do not have to put sugar in there, just 2 cans of heavy syrup, peaches, and then make sure you make sure this stays back, okay? All right, pour it right in the middle. Oop. It's okay. Here, pull that corner, shake that corner out. Okay, good job. All right, you're just gonna dump the cake mix right on top.
Yeah.
Let's spread that out. And then we're just gonna sprinkle some cinnamon on top, and that is it. It's super easy to make. And we're just gonna let this cook for about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And we'll check on it, and it should be ready to go. Okay, so we got the peach cobbler over the fire. You put coals on top so it cooks evenly. We're back to this peach cobbler. It's been a little over an hour, so we're gonna go ahead and take it off and take it in the house. And we'll throw it in the oven to keep it warm until that pork shoulder is done. We are just gonna open this up and check it really quick. Oh yeah, that looks amazing. I'm gonna pop this in the oven while we wait for the pork to get done.
All right, so we're to the point to where we're gonna wrap. Levi's beans are getting pretty good, but probably what we'll do is we'll take some things off and put them in the oven to keep them warm, because this has still got quite a ways left on it. It's a big pork shoulder, but see if I can get it over there without dropping it. All right. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a generous amount of brown sugar on this. I like a sweet barbecue. If you don't like a sweet barbecue, you could skip the brown sugar, but I really like a really sweet barbecue. So once you get that brown sugar on there, you're going to take about a whole stick, half a stick of butter, and this is really going to help this be as moist of a pulled pork as possible. Just put all that butter all over the top of it. And you're going to want to remember, this is the fat cap side, so even after you wrap it, it's going to go in there fat cap up. So once you roll it up, you're going to need to remember how that went. You could get by with about a half a stick of butter, but we chopped up the whole stick, so we're putting it in there. And it's also butcher paper, so you're going to lose a little bit of your butter and stuff like that using butcher paper versus foil. Foil you could definitely get away with a little bit less. Alright, now it's still fat cap side.
Add a fire though.
Roll it one more time. And that is the fat cap right there.
Fat cap.
Then I'm going to fold this excess underneath because I just don't want it flapping around. Once you got it wrapped up, throw it back on there. Get your probe. Get your probe in the meat. And crank your smoker up about as high as you could get it. Most offset smokers, you're not going to get them too hot for this part. You're wrapped, you're not going to burn. You're just rendering the rest of that fat down until you hit 210 internal. Once you hit 210 internal, and that bone's just going to pull right out. There's still one more step.
Dakota just brought these beans in here and they look delicious. Hey y'all, I wanted to pop in and thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, we want to share our appreciation by giving away a custom cutting board with our logo on it, as well as a t-shirt. If you will just share this video and send a screenshot of where you shared it to our email address listed below, and we'll get you entered. And then on October 17th, we'll be doing the drawing for that. We appreciate you watching. Now back to the video.
Alright, so we're over 200 degrees internal. And one of the things you're going to look for is that whenever you stick your temperature probe in there, it just falls in the meat. You shouldn't have any resistance. And then, you know, if it's like a brisket or something a little longer, it'll feel like a bowl of Jell-O. But I didn't, you know, it's kind of compact. I didn't feel like picking it up like that. But I know it's ready. And then this is probably the most important step. You put it away to rest for at least an hour. You know, you're over 200 degrees, you put it in a cooler, it's going to stay warm for several hours. But this is one of the most important parts, is resting it.
We're almost ready for supper. We came inside to clean up, get changed, ready for church tomorrow. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get everything ready and set up while that pork is resting. We highly recommend buttering up and toasting your bread. So I'm going to get that done, get the table set, and then we'll get to eating.
We're going to get this thing unwrapped and see if the bone pulls out. Alright, I'm going to put it in this, if I can get it out of here without it just falling apart, put it in this aluminum pan so I got more room to work with. Alright, get in there real close. Let's see if the bone just pulls out. This is how you know if your pulled pork's done. You should be able to grab that bone. It should just fall out like that. Alright, so it's still a little bit hotter than I'd like to do this at, but as you can see, it's just falling apart. If you let this rest, you wouldn't even need this fork at all if you'd let this rest just a little longer, but we're all hungry and just ready to dig in. But that's what a pulled pork's all about.
God, I thank you for this dinner. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to check out our other videos. And if you like that, maybe you hit the subscribe button. We sure would appreciate it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and we'll catch you next time. You just thought we forgot.
That's all for today, y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Cutting board with our logo on it and a t-shirt. That drawing will be... Hey, I just wanted to pop in really quick and thank everyone